Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I would like to remind everyone that I need from you a little TLC. T standing for please touch the subscribe button. L, like the video. And C, comment if you are so inclined. Thank you. Today we're going to talk generally about the issue of law and government. We'll talk about the three branches of government, and we'll delve a little much more particular into the judicial branch of government, the judiciary. Okay, so the idea of the three branches of government is a concept that started already back in the 4th century before Common Era, BCE, with Aristotle. It continued in the 16th century with people like John Calvin and John Locke. And then we come to the idea of this tripartite system, okay, or Trias politica in Latin. And this idea is by Montesquieu. Montesquieu was a French philosopher in the Enlightenment time, and he came with this idea. And the basic idea is that we do not want all the power of government within one entity, and it needs to branch out. And the number of branches we divide into three. Okay? Which are the three branches of government? We have the legislative branch, which is the one who make the laws, who write them down. That would be the parliament. In the United States of America, that would be the Congress. In America, like many European countries and other countries, there's a lower house and upper house. So the United States of America, the lower house is called the House of Representatives, with 435 representatives, and the upper house is the Senate with 100 representatives. In the UK, the lower house is called the House of Commons, and the upper house is the House of Lords. At any rate, these together create a legislative branch, which makes the laws. Some countries only have no upper and lower house, but just one parliament which legislates. Then we have the executive branch, the one that carries out the laws. This is the government, okay? So in the United Kingdom, that would be Whitehall. Okay, that's the government, the president or prime minister with the other ministers or secretaries. And then we have the judicial branch. The judiciary's job is to judge. Okay, and that is the different courts that we have. The court system, Supreme Courts, High Courts of Justice, federal courts when we have a federal system. And in many countries, if we take out the federal system, we have sort of a lower level, which is often called the magistrate courts, and we have the district courts, and then we have a supreme one. We shall hopefully delve a bit more into that, but before that, I wanted to discuss. So, to summarize, if we would take the example of the United States of America, perhaps before that we'll discuss there are two different ways to view this tripart system. Let's talk about perhaps the Westminster system, meaning the one in the UK, which is basically similar in most countries around the world, in where the two branches, the legislature and the executive branch, are somewhat intertwined. Meaning, let's start with it. We are a democracy. What is a democracy? Democracy means in Greek, demokrasi. Demo is a people. Demos, krasi is the kratia, is the rule of the people. And how do people rule? If you and I are neither presidents nor prime ministers, we rule by voting, by electing our representatives. Which body do we elect? In most countries, the body we elect is the legislative body, the parliament, okay, the court, okay? And from within the parliament, is chosen a government. And often, the secretaries, the ministers in the government are actually people from the parliament. That's how it works in most countries around the world. So those are more intertwined. And so I would say the most democratic branch would be the legislature because that's the one voted to. And the most independent one would usually be the judiciary because that is not intertwined like these two are. How the judges are voted, that depends between country and country. It changes, and we will not delve into that at the moment. There is another system, main other system. France is somewhere between the two systems. We won't get into that. But I'd say the main system, which is in contrast to this system, is the American one. The American one, we vote not only for the legislative body, meaning for the Senate and the House of Representatives, for the Congress, we also vote separately for the executive branch. Okay? That is the president. And then the president chooses his ministers. And that is his prerogative. He can theoretically choose someone who at the moment is in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. But in that case, that guy has to actually leave Congress and move to be a minister. So if in most other systems, often most of the ministers are actually belong to the legislative body, in the United States, actually, they do not. They must not. Okay? There's advantages to each system, and of course, disadvantages, but we will not go through the pros and cons at this point. Just wanted to point that out. The idea of the rule of law and the branches, as we said, starts already in the thought of Aristotle. An important factor was in the early 13th century in the United Kingdom, then England, the Magna Carta Libertatum, which basically means in Latin as a great charter of freedom. And this was forced upon John, the King of England, by the barons on the one hand, and to some extent the church on the other. The one who actually authored the Magna Carta was the Archbishop of Canterbury. At the time, he was not yet the head of the Anglican Church, which he becomes much, much later, not him personally, but this role much, much later when we start the Church of England from Henry VIII, but rather he is still a representative of the Catholic Church. In this charter, John has to relinquish. He has to give over and delegate some of his authority to the barons. This wasn't exactly kept to, and Pope Innocent III actually annulled the whole thing eventually, but it is an important factor in order to give the idea that the king or one ruler does not have all the power, but it actually has to go through checks and balances. This is the idea of separation of powers, the checks and balances. If the executive branch oversteps its rule, the legislative comes and says, whoa, we may legislate against it. Legislative tries to legislate, the judiciary can come and actually sometimes perhaps cancel, retract that law, and so on and so forth. Of course, there's all the time some kind of system where there is tension between the different branches because each one wants to get high. Okay. Of course, the Constitution of the United States of America, written in the late 18th century, and the first 10 amendments, or known as the Bill of Rights, are also an important development in this area. Now that we discussed in general the idea of a democracy and the three branches of government, I would like to focus on the specific one, the judiciary. And that one, perhaps we'll leave for the next video. I just want to end with the idea that, to summarize, in a democracy, we have citizens electing politicians who make laws or affect the citizens. The branch that most countries are voted to is the legislative branch, it's the parliament. In America, it's a Congress. In a place like America, also the executive branch is elected separately. Otherwise, it's elected from within the parliament, most countries. And then we have judiciary, which is elected in different ways. Regarding specifically judicial branch and many important aspects of it, we're going to discuss in the next video. Thank you so much for listening. And please remember, if you can, TLC. Okay? Touch the subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you.